Then, of course, tying into everything you're doing with Silent No More Awareness campaign that we're doing is the idea of taking the hand, not just of the child, but of the mom and the dad. Raise them up with your hand from the despair that would lead them to abort their child. Raise them up from the despair that follows abortion if they've had the misfortune of committing that act.
That's right. You know, very often, as you know, Father, we believe in 100% using graphic images, but we all know there's people out there in the pro-life movement, there are those who feel uncomfortable about using them. And I have shown both this short video clip and the brochure to some of the very people that, when it comes to the other graphic images we use and things, they would say, oh, no, 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 no. But with this particular image, they say, oh, my goodness, this is incredible. They really got into the humanity of that child. And they said, we can use this. This is an image we feel comfortable with, and we can use it. So for those of our LifeTalk audience have been frustrated with the opposition you get with graphic images, well, here's finally a tool that some of those who have been really giving you a hard time, you can kind of show this to them, and most of them are quite agreeable.
Try this out.
Yeah, they're quite agreeable to use it. So now, again, we have it, like you said, Father, on our YouTube channel. We have it as the very, very beginning of the new Procedure DVD, revised, and finally the brochure. That, believe me, you could put that brochure even in your church literature rack. I guarantee you it's going to help convert a lot of people sitting in the pews that are afraid to get involved in this issue.
Blessed are those who mourn. They will be comforted. And I always say the first obligation we have spiritually here is that of a broken heart. Our hearts have to be broken. We have to allow them to be broken over the abortion issue so that we can be roused to action. And that's, of course, what we say at the end of the video clip. May we be stirred to action because our hearts are broken. And they're broken when we realize the humanity. We cut through the abstractions of this. This whole debate is way too abstract. Groups like Life Dynamics help to make it more concrete. We talk about the damage that's being done in these abortion mills by these unscrupulous abortionists. We talk about the reality of the damage being done to our African American brothers and sisters and everyone affected by abortion. And it is these real life stories, the stories of those that have had abortions, and the pictures like of this little hand that cut through the clouds and the fog and the rhetoric and the abstract debate. As we always say, this is not just about viewpoints, it's about victims. It's not just about beliefs, it's about bloodshed. And the bloodshed has to stop, and this rediscovering the humanity of this child helps us rediscover the humanity of us all.
That's right. Well, and just consider, Father, we have to 50 million plus children, little children, that have been lost to abortion. How many of those little hands, those lives have been snuffed out? That's a good thing for people to meditate on when they look at that powerful 1-minute clip.
It sure is. Well, thanks, Janet. Friends, go to unborn.info. Spread it everywhere you can. I guarantee you use this tool, and you'll have many people responding to our call. Everyone against abortion, raise your hand. Thanks for being with us, Mark. Now back to you.
Thanks, Father Frank. All right. Listen, we've got more and more proof of something we've said here. You and I have said, Troy, especially, the fact that we're winning this argument.
Yes.
And there's some of it is pretty funny.
Keep telling me that.
It's a fact.
True.
It's a fact. Planned Parenthood in Washington, D.C. now had planned this what they defined as a massive rally in the nation's capital to push abortion and health care. Okay, they were going to bring all these just massive numbers of people to Washington, D.C. and just besiege the Congress. This is what they said.
To tell us that we need to pay for their abortions, right?
Pay for their abortions. They said that they were seeking at least tens of thousands of people. They were joined by NARAL and other pro-abortion, pro-homosexual groups and labor unions to jointly sponsor this event. They got less than 500.
Rock on. That's awesome.
There was an article, amazing article, here in the New York Times a few weeks ago. And this woman's a pro-abort. This pro-abort that wrote this article. No, I'm sorry, it was a woman named Jennifer Senior. And she was talking about the fact that there was actually, even in New York, and we talked about New York earlier, the highest abortion rate by far of any state in the United States. She said even there, support for abortion is very ambivalent. political support for it, and that nobody there is getting all upset about the fact that the pro-lifers are probably going to keep abortion out of the health care thing, which I don't think is true, but she thinks it's true. So she did this big article, and it's very interesting what she's saying. Basically, she's saying, and it actually says this in some, we've been pushing abortion for 36 years. We've never sold it. We've never sold abortion to the American people. If you can't sell something in 36 years, you can't sell it.
It's snake oil.
Yeah. And she said, we've got to belly up to the bar at some point and just recognize that the American people are, even after all of this, are very uncomfortable with the idea of abortion. Now, one of the things that I've also said here, we've talked about in the past, is that as we get closer to victory, our enemies are going to get more and more vicious. And we've talked about that in some of the and we see this clearly around the country. The level of hatred and animosity,
Vitriol.
the bitterness that's out there right now is greater than anything I've ever seen. And the reason for it is because we're getting close to victory and they know it.
Yeah.
They know that they're losing, and especially they're losing among young people. I think the perfect example of this, or one of them, a perfect example of this is right now, and we don't know how the health care thing hadn't been voted on yet in the Senate, but we don't know how that's going to come out. But right now, of course, Senator Nelson is the guy that's holding out, and his primary thing is on the abortion issue. He's not, and abortion is what's keeping this thing.
Right. It's pro-lifers that are keeping this thing at bay.
We'd already have this thing as a done deal if it weren't for the pro-life community. The Democrats and the Democratic leadership is threatening one of their own fellow Democrats, telling him that if he doesn't support this bill, they're going to close a military base in his state.
Say that again. Because this is the most irresponsible, reckless thing that can ever be done by an administration. To threaten closing a vital military installation in somebody's home state if they don't vote for a radical leftist pro-abortion bill.
Or if they don't vote for anything, I don't care what it is. Yeah. Because, listen, Congress either knows that this military base is vital or it's not.
This is the military base that Bush was at during 9/11. Remember, during that time period, we didn't know where, nobody knew where he was. He was at Offutt Air Force Base.
Okay, but wait a minute, Troy. Congress and Harry Reid and all these other moral degenerates and social misfits up there, they know good and well that either this base is vital or it's not. If it's not, they should have closed it before now.
Right.
If it is vital, what they're saying is, if you don't vote for health care, we will sacrifice the security of the United States by closing a vital military base.
Security of this entire nation.
That's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying. They're saying we don't mind what happened to those soldiers. We'll put them out of business, but we will put this nation in jeopardy.
This is
I'm telling you,
unbelievable.
the folks who do that kind of threat like that, these people need to be kicked out of Congress as soon. I'm getting to the point, Mark. I know everybody wants to wait till election in November next year, but that's a mess that needs to be taken care of right now. That's absolute treason. It's traitorous. It's tyranny. It's dangerous.
Well, Johnny, what you're expressing right now is something that I'm seeing, and we've talked about it here. Yeah. There is an anger that's building up in this country like nothing I've ever seen in my 61 years. I'm telling you, and it is frightening. And I don't want to get into this too much, and I'm certainly not calling for this, but y'all have all heard me say this. I think that we are headed toward, if something doesn't change, we are actually headed toward a shooting civil war in this country. I think the cultural civil war that we've been engaged in for the last 35 or 40, 50 years, mainly because the church abandoned the country, that cultural civil war that we've been involved in has now bubbled up to the point that you're seeing people so angry that I don't think anything's off the table. And I'll tell you what would be especially dangerous is, and I think this is probably going to happen, if Obama loses in 2012, the left, which is far more dangerous than the right, is going to be so angry and so vicious that I think anything is possible with these people.
And I think he's going to lose.
I think he is too.
I think he might not even make it past the primaries.
He might not.
But he might.
But anyway,
see, watch it. If Hillary steps down from her position, that means she's getting ready to run.
Yeah. All right.
How did he respond? Do we know?
No, not yet.
Okay.
But to put this nation at risk like that,
it's obscene. It's obscene. But now, if you want to talk about another obscenity,
This will make you really angry.
And if you think that there's limits to what these people will do, and that there's limits to what our government will allow to happen, think again. We've got a young man, and I don't know, he may not be young, he might be as old and worn out as me, but his name is Brian Brown, and he is an attorney.
My favorite attorney.
One of my favorites.
In Indiana. And he's joining us. I'm just going to let him tell you the story of what's happening here, because this is almost unbelievable. Hello, Brian.
Hello, Mark. It's great to be on your show.
Nice to have you with us, sir. What you're about to tell us, to me, sounds exactly like what went on in the Soviet Union when they would have people they didn't approve of. They would label them mentally incompetent and put them in lockdown mental wards in Siberia, and no one would ever hear from them again. That's it.
They called it lazy schizophrenia, is what they called it, and it was a kind of a mental illness that only a clinician could pick up, and they could only pick it up by questioning them in session and determining their views on the revolution of 1917. I went through the same thing, but to give you some background, I've been involved in pro-life movement since 1979.